I hope you're getting my screen. Yes, all of you.
Okay.
So, if you observe the last class, we discussed about, how to create a static website using storage account, right? Basically. So here, just we are logging to portal.azure.com. So just we have created some resource group and then added some storage account. And once you created some storage account, we're having some option called as a data storage, right? So first of all, here within that we're having some option called as a static website as well. So initially we need to what we call we need to basically it is in by default it is in a disabled, so we need to enable it, and we need to cover some index.html and index.html whatever the name, so that name is not a constant basically, right? So that is the one thing. So then we can create some once if you enable the static website, right, in the if you observe in the containers option or in the containers list, so we're going to get a we're going to have a new row called new row with name as a web. Means within that, if you click on that respect to web, so where you can upload your static files, so then you're going to get some unique URL basically, or we can say that you can have some primary endpoint URL, so where you can copy paste these things in any of the web browser where you're able to access the respective website of your what are the things which you uploaded basically, right? So these things we discussed here. So today we're going to discuss about this. As I mentioned, today we're going to discuss about ARM templates. So the next one is ARM templates. So ARM basically stands for Azure Resource Manager templates. Okay, so nothing but simply we can say that it is having some predefined templates in the form of JSON. Okay, it is having some predefined templates in the form of JSON basically. Okay. Oh, if you are going with some Azure, you're having some ARM templates. If you are going with some AWS, you're having some cloud formation. So previously, if you observe in our previous process, we discussed about some packer concept, right? So the packer is a third-party software which is from HashiCorp, right? So if you are going with some HashiCorp, we are having some Terraform. Okay. So basically, by using this ARN templates, if you go within this Azure, right? So what we are doing is by using this AR templates, we can create some services. So within the Azure Cloud account. So basically, if you observe till now, what are the services which you have created? So we have created manually, means by using some graphical user interface, right? So we are going to the, let us assume if you want to create some storage account, what we have done, so if you're not finding some storage account service, so we are going to Azure Cloud set. We are typed something, maybe some storage accounts, right? Or maybe some template manager. So these things you can type it. So it is available, and just you need to click on create, and you need to provide the necessary options, right? Or necessary fields. So whether it is expecting some resource group or whether it is expecting something, so just we need to choose it, and we need to click on create next tags, next we can create. So basically it is going to create, right? So these things we have created manually and by using some graphical user interface. Till now we have created whatever the services which I have created. But by using these ARM templates also, we are able to create some inbuilt infrastructure within this Azure cloud. Here, infrastructure is nothing but a services. So it can be any services. What are the services you want, you can create this, right? But here we are not using any of the graphical user interface basically, right? So just here already inbuilt JSON code will be there. So just based upon your requirement, just you need to modify that specific piece of code. Then you're able to create this, whether it is in storage accounts or storage account as a service. These things we can create automatically just by using that specific code, basically. Okay. So that thing we're going to discuss now. So as I mentioned you, so using ARM templates, we can create inside of cloud. Same way using Terraform, right? Can create infrastructure either in Azure or AWS. So what I mean to say is each and every cloud vendors like Azure, AWS, or even GCP, they're having their own. If you want to create some templates, basically, right? They're having their own concepts. So, like if you go with Azure, ARM, and AWS Cloud Formation. So these are the respective concepts which we in which they are already having. But still, if you want to use some third party organizations like Azure Cloud, they're providing some Terraform, which is a new concept basically. By using Terraform also, we can create some services within this Azure or within this respective cloud vendors here, basically. Okay. So first of all, we need to understand this JSON. So what is this JSON? I think maybe you're having some idea. JSON is nothing but a JavaScript object notation, basically. A JavaScript object notation. So it is having some predefined structure. What I mean to say is, so you can recognize whether if you are seeing something, basically you can recognize whether it is a JSON or not because it is having some inbuilt structure will be there. So compulsory whatever the JSON files which is available in uh, in any of these respective websites. So if you understand this specific structure, so you're able to recognize this is a JSON file, right? So if you're saving some text file, so how you're saving? Maybe some first .txt. We are giving some extension as a .txt, right? Same way, if you want to if you want to save some JSON file or if you want to create some JSON file, so compulsory we need to provide some extension with extension as a .json. Okay, maybe some first .json, second .json. So some file name with some extension as in .json. So then only we're able to create or we're able to utilize the existing JSON files. Okay, so just we will discuss some what we call some structure. How can we basically how can we write details in JSON form? How can we create or how can we write person details in JSON form basically? Okay, so first we're having some square brackets. This is some example basically. Okay, it looks like some JSON. So we are going to say the real JSON file as well within some 5 to 10 minutes. So let us assume I want to give some information related to some different persons, right? So first within the square brackets we're having some cover brackets. Here maybe some name, Sunil, right? Job, software engineer, maybe some two. Location Hyderabad. So name maybe some Ajay. Job senior developer. Location Mumbai. Okay. So here, if you observe, we can create like this each and every person details. Okay. So compulsory, if you observe here, this a name. It should be end with some comma. Job, it should be end with something, some comma. So after location, if you don't want to create a one more field with some value, right? So then you can provide some dot, or even this dot is also not inventory. So like this, you can provide basically. Okay. So I mean, what I mean to say is, so JSON will look like something like this basically. Okay. So it is having some flower brackets. So it is having some name. I mean, some field followed by some value. It is having some. It is job is one field, right? It is having some value. So like this. So sometimes maybe if you're going, if you go with some multiple values also, it is possible, right? Maybe you can consider what is the common things for these employees basically. uh, Location is going to vary. Otherwise we will check it here. This is Java. Something like this. Okay, so if you observe this name, John, age 30, he may have some multiple cars, right? So this is nothing but what we are calling as an array. Okay, so array should be a same type, I mean same data type here. So if you observe these types, is nothing but all are strings, right, which falls under cors field basically. So even we can define some arrays as well within this JSON. So if you observe this example, so it is having some flower places. So within this flower places, we're having some fields and values. That's it. This is nothing but example for JSON. I think it is, this is Java. So this is the best example here. Okay. So it looks like something like this. Anyway. Okay. So now how can we create in the same form of ARM template? ARM template anatomy, or we can say that ARM template structure. So as I mentioned, if you observe, so ARM template is nothing but is having some predefined template in the form of JSON. Nothing but simply we can say that ARM template is also having some JSON, some predefined JSON will be there, right? So how it is going to look like? So just we're going to discuss here, basically. So go to, so type, okay. So if you observe this basic structure of ARM templates, right, or template form. So it is saying that it is a JSON, okay, JavaScript object notation. So these are the some fields followed by some values. I mean, currently, if you observe, these values are empty, so they are giving some fields, right? So like nothing but like a schema, content version, API profile, parameters, variables, functions, resources, output, something like this, right? So out of this, basically, so they are given some information related to each and every field. So if you observe mostly these flower braces, right? So these are the not or these things, these fields is not mandatory. So if you observe this parameter is somewhere here, option no. No means not a mandatory. Yes means so compulsory we need to provide. I mean, if we want to utilize this template format, right? So even if you're not providing these parameters, right, or even these outputs, or maybe some these variables, right, we are not able to get any error or exception. These are the optional fields. What I mean to say. But the remaining things, this content version, schema, API profile, these are the mandatories, compulsory. If you're utilizing this respective format, compulsory we need to provide these respective fields. What I mean to say. Okay. So just you can copy and paste it. If you observe this one and these things is almost similar, right? It is also in flower braces sound, but it is having some different fields. So from the above JSON, right? Uh, or from the above JSON, or we can call it as a function as well. So this schema or maybe some content version resources, right? Even if you want to consider, you can consider some functions as well, or maybe you can consider functions or mandatory. Okay, so now how to create. What I mean to say is simply you can remove these parameters or remove these outputs because these things we doesn't require, right? These are the optional variables. So like this, you can define some JSON file. Okay. So we will check it now. Basically, this is the predefined format, right? So we will not do any changes on this, but we will do some changes on this storage account JSON or storage account ARM templates. How to create storage account using some ARM templates. Okay, so this is some JSON which I have given you, right? Which I have got it from Microsoft Documents, right? So similarly, we are also having some JSON. So if you want to create some storage account by using some ARM templates, okay, so we no need to write any piece of code basically. So just go to write ARM templates. So what is GitHub we will discuss later. But currently, we're having so many things available here. If you observe, otherwise, this one is fine. This one is good. Okay. So here, if you observe, basically, we discussed about some DNS zones, right? So if you want to create some DNS zones by using ARM templates, so this is a piece of code. So this is the piece of code. So if you observe this one, schema we're having, content version, API profile, parameters they're providing, right? These all these things, this is a piece of code. So just you can copy and you can modify this code based upon your requirement basically. So like this, currently here what we are doing is we are trying to create storage account by using some ARM template JSON file. Here this is a JSON file which they have provided, Azure deploy.json, and this is a piece of code what we are having. So by using this piece of code, right? So we can create a storage account inside of Azure cloud account. But first of all, we need to understand. So just you can copy this one, completely and open Visual Studio. So just go to file, click on new file, paste that respective JSON here. So here, let me create some new folder, some ARM templates. So we will try to save this file. Save, go to desktop, ARM templates. So you can save it as maybe some here. What is the name they have given? Also deploy.json, or maybe some can go with some Azure deploy. So save as type JSON. Compulsory, we need to save it as a JSON, right? So click on save. Okay. Now it is saved as a JSON.
Yes. It would.
So now if you observe these things here, what are the things mandatory and what are these optional here basically? So if you observe these parameters, this one is optional, outputs, this one is optional, right? So we can remove these things here within this whatever the JSON file which you have copied. So you can we can have some schema, content version, API profile, right? So these parameters we doesn't require. This is optional basically, right? We can remove, and this variable is also optional. We can remove. Okay, finally we're having some resources, schema, content version, API profile, resources, outputs. So this outputs also not a mandatory, right? So if you want, you can remove. And here you need to remove this comma as well, because after this square brackets we don't have any field, right? So if you're having some field, so compulsory you need to provide some comma. Otherwise, so if you observe this piece of code, right? So this parameters is one field with parameters is a field, right? With it is having some value. But after the parameters, right? They have given some variables as well. So that is the reason here we need to provide some comma. And even after variables also they have provided this they have provided some comma because we're having some resources as a field, right? If you observe after outputs, so they did not mention any comma, means we don't have any another field. So if you are defining some field, right? So after that field, if you're having some value, or if you assume after variables, if you want to provide a one more field, right? So compulsory we need to provide some comma. Otherwise, it will not. We're going to have some error, or otherwise we can say that it is not a valid JSON. Okay, and even once if you modify this JSON file, right? Even whether it is a valid JSON or not, you can cross check it here. Basically, go to JSON lint JSONlint.com. Go to here and you can copy paste this thing. Just copy. Let us assume here I have included the comma. Okay, so just copy this one and you can paste it here. Click on valid JSON. So here we're getting some error. Paths error on line number 13. So in 13 we are getting some error, right? Basically, because it is not a valid JSON. So expected string got something. So it is saying each and everything, right? So just you can remove this one. Click on valid JSON again. Means if you observe the specific error as well, right? It is expecting some string here. It is expecting some string means so nothing but it is expecting in this form basically. But it is but we are did not provided, right? So that is a so got. We observe this got is braces. So because after braces we are included the comma, that is the reason. So now just remove this dot. Click on once again valid JSON. See here now it is results is it is a valid JSON basically. So this is the way once if you modify some code by using this JSONlint.com, sorry, so you can validate whether the provided JSON is valid format or not basically. So just copy this one. Just copy, just remove it, paste it here. Control S, Control S for save. Okay. So any doubts till now, any of you? Fine. So now here, if you observe, here within this resources field, right? So here, if you observe, uh, type, it is saying that some storage account, because we are trying to create some storage account by using some ARM templates. So this thing we are not able to change it. And name. So basically, if you observe while creating the storage account, we have given some name inside of Azure Cloud account, right? So you can provide that respect to name here. So just you can remove it, this one, and you can provide some name. Okay, maybe some we already created some ABC storage, right? S-T or H-E. Maybe we can give some 100 because it should be unique, right? So that is the reason. Location, what in which location you want to create. Maybe you can provide some East US and SKU. I mean storage account type. Okay, storage account type means we discussed about different types of redundancies, right? Nothing but local redundant, geo redundant, zone redundant, right? So that thing we need to provide here, basically. Okay, so here we are already having that. So standard LRS, nothing but local redundant storage. LRS stands for local redundant storage. If it is a geo, right? So just GRS. So here you can copy paste, uh, delete this one, paste it here. Standard underscore LRS. Basically. Okay, these are the modifications which we need to do. So if you want to format something, right? So Control Shift T, or otherwise right click here, uh, format, format selection, Control Shift Control, format document. Basically, you can go with Control Shift plus T. That thing is also good. Basically, so Control A, Control Shift T. So let us assume you have modified something here. Location, right? Control A, Control Shift T. You it is happened, right? Basically, Control Shift T is going to work. Control A, Control Shift, just is going to format. It is not happened, right? Okay, go with format document, right? I think this control shift T for Eclipse, I think Eclipse ID, not for Visual Studio. So they have given some control plus K, control plus F. I think control plus F is going to work it. Control A, control plus F. Control plus F is for finding. Control plus K, I think. Control plus, yes, control plus K. Okay. So we already saved it, right? So just go to file, control plus S. We have saved. So after that, how to deploy this JSON file into Azure Cloud Account, right? So just we have created some JSON file, or just we have created some ARM template file, right? So now by using this file, our major intention is by using this JSON file or by using this ARM template, we trying to create some storage account service inside of Azure Cloud Account, right? But we have not yet created till now. We need to create that. So now for this, how to create this one? Just copy and paste it here. To deploy this storage account file or ARM template file. Or we can say that methods to deploy. One is Azure portal, and one more thing is PowerShell, and one more thing is CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so here whatever the JSON file which you are having, so that thing we can deploy, right? So methods to deploy JSON file or methods to deploy RM templates. So these are the different ways here. So one is by using Azure portal. So today we're going to see Azure portal. So then we're going to see some PowerShell. So this one we'll discuss later, CI/CD pipeline basically. So now we are going with some Azure portal. So that is nothing but just we need to log into .azure.com. So just try to create some resource group. Go to click on resource group. Click on create. Maybe some Azure test. Click on next tags. Next event create. Finally click on create. Okay, resource group is created. So then here search for Go to Azure Cloud search for template deployment. Search for template deployment. So go with this template deployment. Okay, we're going to get some custom deployment, something like this. Click on build your own template in the editor. Click on it. Right. So once if it is navigated to the respective editor or respective template, so you see here, it also they're providing some default format. This is the default format, right? Basically, nothing but schema, content version, these things. So here already we have created this respective format. So just you can copy, you can paste it here. Control A, delete, Control V. So we need to, if you observe in the left side, we need to get it something like this abc storage 100 whatever the storage account name, so this thing we need to get it, so then only it is a valid ARM template file or valid JSON file. Otherwise we have done somewhere uh, some mistake, maybe we have forgotten some comma or maybe some double quote, something like that. So these all these things, so this thing we can check it in JSON lint.com. So first of all, if it is a valid JSON file or valid template file, right? So you're going to get some respect to storage account name, basically. Okay. Click on save. So then you need to provide your respective resource group. Azure test. So even if you want, you can edit the respective template, what are the template you have created. So click on next, review and create. Finally click on create. So it is created, right? So after that, go to home, go to storage accounts. See here, ABC storage account. So let us assume I want to create a one more storage account. I want to create a one more storage account. So then just you can copy, Control C, and provide some comma here. Control V. Here instead of 100, you can provide maybe some 200. I want to provide one more thing, maybe some 300, something like this. Okay. So just you can Control C and go to jsonlink.com. Just paste it here. click on validate JSON. Something it is duplicate. Duplicate key resources. You can provide maybe some resources. One copy. Right now it is a valid JSON. Okay, so you can copy paste the same code here. Maybe go to once again template deployment. Click on build your own template in the editor. Delete. Click on save. Select resource group. Click on next review and press create. Validation failed. Right? The request content was invalid and could not be serialized. Could not find number resource one. Invalid request content. Okay, it is not recognizing resource one. It is not recognized resource one. Resource two also not recognized. Otherwise, go to template deployment. What happened? Click on save. Click on Azure test. Next event create. Right. So validation passed. Okay. So here duplicate key is not a problem. You can allow it because this is a predefined uh, way to create a storage, right? So compulsory need to provide these resources because if you observe here where it is, not only this one, if you observe this one here, where it is. So yeah, this resource is a predefined one, right? So compulsory we need to provide in the same way. So here if you observe here this ABC storage 100, we already having some storage account with 100, right? So even though if you're having some storage account with the name as 100, so first of all, it will cross check it within the Azure cloud, right? Whether you have any storage account with ABC storage 100 or not. If we are having, it will not create. If you don't have, then only it is trying to create. Okay. So let us assume if you're having some ABC storage 200, we don't have that respective storage account with the name as ABC storage 200, right? So now it is trying to create a new storage account with the name as ABC storage 200 basically. Okay, click on create. Okay, it is created. Go to home. Go to storage accounts. Not about 200. 200 already we are having, or something like that. 300 is created. Okay, now it is taking 200. It is 1000. It is taking 300. I mean, it is considering last one. This one is already having, so it is not creating. But 300 it is created. But why? What about 200? Why it is not created 200? There is notifications. Let us create one more time. Otherwise, you need to create basically. Next tree and create. Now at least 300 and 100 should not created one more time, right? Deployments 3 succeed, but it is not showing 200 basically. Okay, maybe sometimes it may be slow. It is going to reflect here. Okay, so compulsory it should create. So first it is going to check it whether this 100 is available or not. If it is not available, then it is trying to create, right? uh, Duplication of storage accounts it will not create. Okay, so some ABC storage 200, right? So it will check it whether 200 storage account is available or not. If it is not, then it is trying to create. So 300 is anyway it is created, right? So and you is saying deployment succeeded basically. 3 succeed means it is having basically 100, 300, 200 as well, but it may take sometimes to reflect time. So check it from your end, so try to implement the same thing. So if you're not, I mean, if you're not coming some ABC storage 100, 200, 300, something like that, let me know. Okay, otherwise once again we are trying to create all these things one more time and tomorrow. Okay, but this is a way to try to create some storage accounts by using ARM templates or by using some predefined JSON files. So any doubts, any of you? Is it fine, these things? So that's all for today.